So, a wild story is in the news right now. A white woman gave birth to a fully genetically black baby. So, a single white woman goes to a fertility clinic. She uses donor sperm from a man who is also white to create embryos that are implanted with her using in vitro fertilization. She carries the baby for 9 months, gives birth. That baby is actually black. So what actually happened is that woman, along with another couple, another black couple, go to the same fertility clinic. That couple's embryos were switched with the white woman's embryo. So she is implanted with what is actually their genetic child. This is a tragedy for all people involved. The white woman spends 9 months nurturing and growing this life inside of her, gives birth to it, looks at it and immediately thinks, okay, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I still think maybe this is my baby. Maybe the sperm is what got switched up. She goes to the fertility clinic and says, hey, I think you made a mistake. Pay for me to get a DNA test. They refuse. She pays to get her own at home DNA test, and that confirms that she has no genetic connection to this child. Now, this is after about 3 months of her caring for this infant. The fertility clinic lets the other family know, hey, there's another baby out there with your genetic material. They take the first woman to court. So when that baby is almost 5 months old, she shows up to court with a stroller, decides to turn the baby over to the other family, leaves out that courtroom with an empty stroller. I worked as an adoption social worker for over 10 years. So much of this story reminds me of adoption. And listen to this clip.
Court hearing that May, Christina decides to give up the baby voluntarily.
It's like the happiest day of their life is like the worst day of mine. So like everyone's happy and joyous, and then there's me losing my entire life all at once.
When I hear this mom describe that this was both the best day of their life and the worst day of hers, it feels so ripe for me of the difference between birthing parents and adoptive parents. The stories that we tell about adoption are often centered around the perspective of adoptive parents, and that misses so much about the loss, the grief, and the separation that is inherent in adoption. With the birthing parent here, she spends 9 months, again, forming an attachment to this fetus. She gives birth. She spends about 5 months caring for this fetus. And then that relationship is just gone. For the baby, the very first person that was his home, the first heartbeat that he heard, is now just completely gone from his life. The genetic parents of this baby lost that same period of time. That mom didn't get a chance to experience the pregnancy of her genetic child. She didn't get that opportunity to form that connection to him, growing in her body, in her womb. She didn't get the first 5 months of his life. And that was one of the things that always frustrated me in the work, is that we collude with adoptive parents with this delusion that they have that adoption is perfect and great and all good, and not only ignores the entire experience of the birthing parents and the adoptee, but it also ignores the loss and grief that adoptive parents absolutely are experiencing, whether or not they are present with it. My heart breaks for both of these families and this baby, who I think is now about 1.5 years old. I'm also reminded of the fact that we need to be telling more nuanced, complicated, and difficult stories about adoption.